Thanks for being here. We appreciate it. This meeting of the Baltimore County Landmarks Preservation Commission is now in session. Please note the meeting is being audio recorded. My name is John Holman, Chair of the Commission, and I will be running tonight's meeting. We are your volunteer representatives appointed by our county councilperson or county executive and entrusted to monitor renovations and additions to our Baltimore County historic resources. We review and approve nominations to the Baltimore County Preliminary Landmarks List and comment on National Register nominations. Additionally, we are charged with evaluating submissions to the Baltimore County Historic Tax Credit Program that encourages the appropriate maintenance and renovation of designated historic properties. Would the commissioners please introduce themselves by name and county council district of representation? We can go in order on the PowerPoint screen. So Lily's not with us. Chris Weston?
Chris Weston, District 2.
Wendy McIver, District 3.
Lisa's not with us. Ray?
Ray Scott, District 7.
Phoebe Evans Latosha, executive appointment.
Jamie Scott.
Scott Halupka, planning board rep.
Ed Horde, executive appointment.
Vince Johnson, executive appointment.
Chris Parts, executive appointment.
Thank you all. Now please stand as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Justice for all.
Good, thank you all. The Landmarks Preservation Commission operates under the authority, standards, and requirements of Title VII, Article 32 of the Baltimore County Code. We refer to the United States Secretary of the Interior's standards for rehabilitation as administered by the National Park Service. This is the accepted national standard for historic preservation projects. Our own Baltimore County Historic Preservation Design Guidelines directly reference and incorporate the Secretary of the Interior's standards for rehabilitation. We have important preservation issues to discuss and debate at each meeting. If you would like to make comments, please limit your comments to the specific application or proposal submission being reviewed. We ask for your assistance and understanding so that the discussions do not digress. As an additional comment, we can all agree that historic preservation is an important aspect of the quality of life and place that makes Baltimore County unique. As a commission, we seek to recommend significant buildings and places for landmark consideration to the County Council for their final vote. As commissioners, we serve on the commission due to our expertise, interest, and passion for historic buildings and places, and review submissions based solely on their merit. While we may disagree in discussion and voting, we continue to be a collegial body that respects each other personally and professionally. So, staff reminders for virtual meetings?
Yes, so for offering testimony, this was mentioned in the agenda. The public the general public, if they wish to testify for any item on the agenda, they must sign up to speak at the meeting or submit written testimony to staff in advance. As of right now, we don't have anybody signed up for any of the agenda items. Owners, applicants, and project representatives do not need to sign up in advance. Staff will even announce you by name and allow you to speak at the appropriate time. And also just a reminder that the information in this PowerPoint isn't everything that was submitted by the applicants. It's just a summary of what was in the applications. The commissioners all received everything that was submitted in application packets a week prior to the meeting to review. So again, this is just the stuff presented on the PowerPoint is just to keep the meeting moved in an organized manner. If we do need to pull up any plans for a specific project, we will do that.
Good. Thank you. Any changes for today's agenda?
No changes.
Okay, thank you. And minutes of June 8th meeting, any corrections or additions from the commissioners?
No, no changes.
May I have a motion to approve? Chris, you're looks.
I'm muted.
We
I
approve
move
the
we approve
meeting.
the minutes from last meeting.
Thank you. And a second, please?
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ed. And all in favor, we'll just do by hand vote or aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Hearing none, minutes are approved. Consent agenda items.
Okay, so we have two consent items, starting with number 4, Towson Jail Associates LLC property at 222 Courthouse Court in Towson, County Council District number 6. This is final landmarks list number 84, Baltimore County Jail. And just as a background, the county jail is a 2-story Italianate-style stone building originally constructed in 1855 and was used as a correctional facility until 2006. Building was restored in 2011 and is now used for office space. The applicant proposes to install a 4 by 2 foot canvas awning over the side entry door. And staff recommendation is voting to issue a certificate of appropriateness as proposed, citing Baltimore County Design Guidelines, facade materials, pages 1 through 12. And then we have the Mercinger House, the Bob Nash property at 14 Chatsworth Avenue in Glendon. This is a contributing property within the Glendon County Historic District, and the applicants propose the replacement of the rear non-historic staircase and railing, repairs to the side staircase railing, and front porch flooring replacements and painting.
Thank you. Commissioners, is that all right with everybody? Leave them on the consent agenda, or does anybody want to pull one off for further discussion? Hearing none, could I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
That we approve the consent agenda items.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you, Wendy. And then we need to do a roll call vote for these, please, Jessica.
Sure. Chris Weston, please.
You're muted, Chris.
I'll come back to Chris at the
There
end.
you go.
Wendy. Let's see. We'll try Ray and then circle back around.
Yes.
Thank you. Phoebe,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Vince,
Yes.
Chris Parts,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Chris Weston,
Can you unmute him?
Well, we have a majority, so let's go to Wendy.
Yes.
And then I also vote yes. And Chris will catch you up on the next vote. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and then item number 6, are you going to guide us through that, Jessica?
Yes, this is
Thank
the
you.
non-property located at 331 West Seminary Road in Lutherville, County Council District number 3. This is a contributing structure, and the property is known as the Harvey Tracy House and was constructed in the Downing boat cottage style in 1885. The structure once served as the Lutherville Telephone Exchange. The owners wish to install a 6-foot shadow box style fencing along the side and rear yard. The fencing will consist of pressure-treated pine that will begin at the southeast and southwest corners of the home and extend along the side and rear yards. Staff has no issue with the style and material of the proposed fencing. However, the applicant did not include a site plan that identified property lines, streets, neighboring buildings, existing structures, and any existing or proposed fencing locations. The images submitted with fencing overlays are a bit confusing and difficult to determine the actual location of the fence. In addition, no clear or current photos of the house were submitted. Staff used real estate photos from 2019. Additionally, the Lutherville Historic Advisory Committee submitted comments to staff and were subsequently shared with the commission earlier this week. The Lutherville Historic Advisory Committee had some confusion over the location of the proposed fence. In addition, they had concerns on the side yard portion being higher than 42 inches and had additional zoning concerns. Staff recommends that the current proposal be denied and resubmitted with more information, photos, and a site plan. The current proposal does not have enough information for the commission to make a decision. In addition, staff asked the applicant to check with zoning on fence location and setbacks. So staff's recommendation is to vote to not issue a certificate of appropriateness as more information is needed to determine the location of the fencing. We ask that the applicant resubmit with additional photos of the house and location of fencing and a site plan that shows the locations of any existing and proposed fencing, citing Baltimore County Historic Design Guidelines, Fences and Landscapes, pages 1 through 5, County Code Section 327-405.
Thank you. Is that owner with us today? Is anybody with us on that application, Caitlin or Jessica?
I do not see either property owner.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Commissioners, any comments, thoughts?
I agree with the staff's recommendation.
Do you want to put that into a motion, Ed?
Yes, I'll make a motion that we agree that's in line with the staff's recommendations to deny the certificate of appropriateness and to resubmit with more information so that it's clear what they're actually proposing.
Thank you. Is there a second or comment?
Second.
Good. Before I ask for a vote, just make sure, any comments, any? Hearing none, can you lead us through the roll call, Jessica? Thank you.
Could we have Chris Weston, please?
By saying yes, I'm voting to not issue a certificate of appropriateness.
That's
correct?
right. We're
Yes.
voting,
Then
a
my
yes
vote
is
is
to
yes.
deny it and pending further details.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
Yes.
Wendy, please.
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Phoebe,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes,
Vince,
Yes.
Chris Parts,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
and John, please.
Yes,
Great, thank you.
thank you. And then are you on for number 7 also, Jessica?
Yes.
Thank you.
So next we have Young Jacob's Choice, the Sandler and Bogat property located at 720 Belfast Road in Sparks, County Council District number 3. This is final landmark list number 98, the Enzor House / Young Jacob's Choice, Southern Vista. And the owners propose to construct an addition and detached garage with a connected breezeway and bay window replacement. So the property was listed on the Baltimore County Final Landmarks list as landmark number 98 on September 22nd, 1991 through County Council Bill number 121-91. There's no historical environmental setting on the property, so the LPC's purview is only on the exterior of the house and not the surrounding property. The structure is a 2.5 stone dwelling constructed in the federal style in 1801. A 1.5 story rear L addition was constructed in the mid 1800s. A frame shed roofed addition was added to the stone rear L during the mid 20th century. The applicant is proposing to construct an addition along the east side elevation, along with a detached garage with a connected breezeway. Work item number 1 is for the bay window replacement. The 1850 stone rear L has a box bay window that was added to the northwest side sometimes in the mid to late 20th century. The applicant proposes to remove the box bay window and replace it with a pair of casement windows sized to fit the current opening. The window will be the ultimate casement by Marvin with simulated divided lights. No information in the application provides the number of lights in the casement window. On the plans, it shows a set of 4 casement windows or 2 sets with 8 lights in each section. Staff asks that the commission confirm the style of the casement. Work item number 2 for the addition. The applicant proposes to construct a 2-story addition with a set of telescoping 1-story additions off its rear. The two-story portion will be located off the side of the main block of the house and will utilize two existing openings to access the addition on the first floor and create a new opening on the second floor. It will have a front-end gable roof in standing seam metal. The addition is set slightly in front of the main block of the house due to constraints. The two-story addition will be a 23 by 2.5 by 16 and feet and 7 inches, and will be separated from the main block by a 5-foot two-story hyphen with double door entries on the first and second levels. The first level will contain a 5-panel transom over the entry, and the second level will contain a 5-foot balcony. The windows on the addition are proposed to be divided casements. The two-story addition is proposed to be sheaths in faux stone veneer that will have a more coarse pattern than the uncoarse stone on the main house. The plans stone and moderate date stone in the corner marking the addition's construction date. The secondary portion of the addition is a 1-story flat roof addition measuring 7 feet by 21 feet off the side of the 1850s rear stone L. It will be covered with a smooth, hardy plank siding and a rubber membrane roof. It will have 1 window and a single leaf roof. Additionally, another 1-story low-pitch hip roof addition measuring 12 by 9 feet will connect the 2-story addition to the 1-story addition. This portion will have a series of French doors and side-light windows. Proposed material selections are attached but include natural facing stone veneer with full corners, hardy smooth lap siding with exposure to match existing, Marvin ultimate wood casement windows, and ultimate wood French doors, both with 5/8-inch simulated divided lights with spacer bars, Drexel standing seam metal roof matching pan with seam site and bridge cap detailing. Work item 3 is for the garage and attached breezeway. A 2.5 car garage is proposed on the rear and northeast of the existing house. It will measure 36 feet by 24 feet and will have wood siding and 2 carriage style doors. The doors and windows on the garage will match the house on the 1-story addition. The garage will be linked to the house with an open-sided but covered breezeway. The garage will be situated approximately 40 feet from the house and addition. Due to the significant slope on the existing parking pad, low retaining walls are proposed to reduce the slope and some reworking of the parking pad to provide maneuvering space for the garage. The application also is proposing to reconfigure the driveway and parking area and construct a new flagstone patio courtyard and walkways. The hardscaping projects are not part of the LPC's purview as the landmark does not have a historical environmental setting, so they will be reviewed in an advisory capacity. So staff's recommendation is to vote to not issue a certificate of appropriateness as proposed, citing Baltimore County Historic Design Guidelines, windows and doors, roofs, facade materials, infills and additions, and fences and landscapes, County Code Section 327-405.
Do we have the owners or architect with us, Jessica?
Let's see.
The architect is online, Jeffrey Penza.
Okay, Mr. Penza, I just unmuted you.
Yes, the Anne is on the line as well, and she'd probably like to do a introductory.
Ms. Boga, I have unmuted you as well.
I also have a set of full plans to pull up if needed.
Are we waiting?
Oh, they're
Sorry.
both Jeff and the property owner, Ms. Bogart, are both unmuted.
Okay. So are we going to hear Jeff from you first or from the owner first?
From the owner first.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, thank you so much for letting us make a statement. Can you hear me?
Not very well.
Not very well. Okay. I'm going to try and talk much louder. Is that better?
Thank you. We appreciate that effort.
All right. We love this is brief, and thank you for the opportunity to say something about this project. We love this house very much. However, we need an addition in order to create a workable kitchen and provide much needed closet, laundry, and bathroom space. Our goal for the addition is to respect the history of the house while at the same time creating a living space in line with 20th century standards. We're not even hoping for 21st century standards, but we really want to bring it into a little bit into the 20th century.
A little closer, huh?
My husband has lived here since 1996, mainly on his own, and I have lived here since February of this year when I retired and moved from Michigan. The house is 3,500 square feet, but it lives quite small. For example, the third floor is unusable for anything other than storage, making the house, for all practical purposes, a two-bedroom house. Although the kitchen just may do for a man living alone, I'm an avid cook, and the existing configuration and outdated large appliances, along with our combined cookware, bakeware, and small appliances, simply does not suffice. We desperately need a new kitchen and breakfast room. The current kitchen has 4 windows, 3 doorways, and a large fireplace, making it almost impossible to add to the existing but insufficient counter space and cabinets. Again, although the small closets and a hall bathroom suffice for Bruce living here alone, the two of us need more space and amenities. We've worked closely with our architect, Jeffrey Penza, to develop a proposed addition that both meets our needs but also respects the historic house. Early in the design process, Jeff educated us on the U.S. Department of the Interior guidelines for additions to historic buildings. We believe the design successfully meets those criteria. Importantly, we also believe that the addition and the hyphen could be removed in future and the original house would remain nearly unchanged. Finally, we want to emphasize how much we love this house and how much we continue to want to live here. Our current situation is cramped and unpleasant. The addition and renovations would allow the two of us to live happily in this wonderful house for the rest of our lives. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Jeff, do you have anything to add?
Yes, just a few comments. I think staff has done a great job of kind of outlining things. But first and foremost, I just want to talk a little bit about the siting of the house and why the addition was placed where it was. First and foremost, the house is about 750 feet from Belfast Road. It sits pretty high up on the hill. There's about close to 100 feet of elevation change from Belfast up to the first floor of the house. And then there are some very, very steep slopes on the back side of the house that really limit where we can put things. In addition, if you can flip back to the site plan, I think that best describes what we're dealing with here. And then on the, and again, the site plan is rotated a little bit, so north is not due up. It is a little off kilter. But in any case, we do have a swimming pool as well on the east side of the house, so it just really limited what we could do. So we talked a little bit about the entrance to the front. We do have some spectacular views from the house, and there really is no way to re-engage the front entrance other than creating a little parking pad and walkway to the front door. And again, I know that's not necessarily under the purview, but I think it is an important thing to mention. So what we've tried to do with this is to, if we can go back to the elevations, please. The intent of what we were doing with the addition is to, number one, separate it from the existing house with a hyphen. We have maintained, so it's going to be, keep going one more, there you go. Well, that's the existing house. Keep going 2 more down, 3 more down. There you go. Okay. So what we tried to do is to, number one, separate the addition from the main part of the house with a hyphen. It is a full 2-story addition. We felt fairly strongly that we did not necessarily want to change the materials of the house. The idea of maintaining stone was fairly important to us in terms of trying to maintain continuity, as well as the proportion of the windows and the roof slope and the roof materials as well. A couple things that we've done to try and differentiate the addition is to, number one, pull in the eaves a little bit. The roof, the existing roof does have fairly deep roof overhangs. So we have pulled those in probably about 50% relative to the existing house. Again, just trying to make a differentiation. And then as we wrap around the back of the house or the side of the house, the lower elevation that you're seeing on the screen, again, the intent was to create flat roof additions. You have to stay on that page, please. Thank you. Flat roof additions that make the transition between the two-story segment and a link to the garage. So the transitional element is a sunroom with French doors and transom windows, and then we step down to a lower roof, again a flat roof section of addition that houses a mudroom. Interestingly, the window sills in the second floor of the 1950s wing are approximately, I think they're a little bit less than 1 foot off of the floor. So we had to really bring that roof line down to maintain those windows and to maintain that section of the house. So the only things that we're really doing to the existing house, as had been mentioned, was to, number one, create a couple of openings to access the new additions. But there is also on the west side, if you skip down to the next drawing, yeah, the one on the bottom. There is an existing, I'm not exactly sure when it was done, but sometime in the 20th century box bay window that we just don't feel is quite appropriate for the house. So we're removing that and replacing that with a set of casement windows within the existing opening. We have chosen the 2 pairs of casements so that the window to the front of the house does align with the window up above, and then the secondary window adjacent to it just replicates that. The materials that we're planning on using, again, casement windows, trying to stay in the same proportion. We are planning on using simulated divided light Marvin windows in wood, painted. And the existing muttons on the house are 5/8. We're planning on continuing with the 5/8 inch muntins. And the stone pattern on the existing house is really, it's varied. And so what we're planning on doing is to use a little bit stronger coursed stone. At this point in time, assuming that we can get the appropriate colors, we would like to use a thin veneer stone, which is made by a local company here. It is natural stone. And if you can skip to the proposed materials, I think that may help a little bit. But again, you can see that the stone on the existing house is really, it is not consistent at all. So what we're proposing to do is to use something that's a little bit more coarse. Again, the intent is to try and make a little bit more of a distinction between the new and the existing. I think that pretty well sets everything that I have to say. Again, you've done a great job with the presentation. But you can see the stone is a little bit more coursed. And again, we're trying to get the color range, and we want to try and maintain the same texture within the addition.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. Commissioners, questions, thoughts, comments?
John, I have a quick question.
Sure.
Just for my own edification, I was trying to find the house just on Google Maps. Is it visible at all from any public road?
Pretty far set back.
It's pretty far set back. We
Yeah.
did have a couple of photographs in the application that tried to show the house from the road, but you really cannot see it at all.
That was my impression, that it was just.
Yeah. And
I
again,
couldn't
part
see
of it is it is so far up the hill. I think the elevation is probably the thing that kind of hides the house from Belfast Road more so than anything else. You can see the roof line from the road, and that's really about it.
It may be one of those winter views where you can get a little glimpse of it when the leaves are down. Any other questions, comments, commissioners?
I think it's a well done plan. I think it's sensitive and works well with the house. It differentiates it a little bit, but it's using the hyphen to separate the addition from the existing historic house. I like it. I think it looks good.
I just had a quick question. I think staff somewhere in the material sent to us had questioned the balcony on the front of the house, whether that is appropriate or not.
Yeah, so the intent of the balcony again is to the entire hyphen, we're trying to render it to be much more transparent and to clearly make a distinction between the mass of the two-story addition from the existing house. So we're envisioning it being fairly light and lacy, done in steel as opposed to wood. And again, it is just trying to make a stronger distinction. And I will also say this is still a little bit of a work in progress. We came up with the design or agreed upon the design with the clients just a matter of weeks ago. So we still are working out a number of the details. So if there are any issues like that that need to be detailed, as long as we have an overall approval or a concept approval would be acceptable to us.
So commissioners, hearing that from Jeff, perhaps an appropriate motion, if one of you chose to make it, would be that we approve it pending that any alterations or changes that come up and as they work through the plans are submitted to staff, and then we can empower staff either with a small work group or at their discretion to pull in commissioners to review. So that would be one option.
And they can approve it as it is, and if there are any changes, they would just have to submit an amendment to this application.
I'm sorry, say that again, Caitlin. We can approve it as is.
So you can approve it with what you see here, and if anything on the exterior changes, they would just have to submit an amendment, and then it would come back for you to review. And sometimes those amendments, if they're very minor, they would just be put on the consent agenda, unless it's like something major.
Good. Any other thoughts, commissioners?
I don't feel like this addition complies with the guidelines, and I'm going to vote against it.
Can you give us a little more, Chris?
It sits proud. The front of it sits proud of the house. The hyphen, I don't feel like the hyphen does enough to differentiate the addition from the house. If you look at the location of the hyphen in plan, the front wall is flush with the house on the first floor. And I think there are some material issues with the use of the veneer stone. I don't think that does enough to differentiate the addition from the historic home. And frankly, I don't think that the veneer stone juxtaposed against the historic stone is going to be a good appearance.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other thoughts, commissioners?
Yeah, and I would like to argue that point. If you look at the Secretary of the Interior standards, I think there are a number of examples that are actually pointed out within the standards that show similar materials and not necessarily set back. And again, part of the reason for keeping the addition where it is that we just don't have a lot of space to work within. And you know, there's just not enough space to make that hyphen any larger. And it's just it is a very, very tight site. And again, site considerations are one of the things that should be considered as part of this review process.
I'm okay with the way it's done. I think it's, yes, it is flush with it. The addition is flush with the existing house, but there is a break. There is the hyphen which breaks it, and it's flat roofed. It's glazed. It has the balcony on it. I think it works well. But non disputandum, as they say.
Can you put that in a motion for us, Ed, if you'd like?
I would like to hear other people's comments and see how other people are doing. Let's talk it out first and see if everyone, which way people are leaning, and let's have a motion that meets what the board thinks.
And if I may comment here, John, the one concern that I have with the hyphen is that the balcony kind of bridges the two. I think it would read as a stronger hyphen if it did not have the balcony, so that, you know, it distinguishes a little bit better between the new and the old. Because I think of it looks like multiple types of coursing on the house. I don't have a problem with the new being a more rectilinear coursing. I think it distinguishes it enough without making that be something an entirely different material. So I'm probably more in Ed's camp, but I think I would suggest that maybe a little bit more refinement in terms of the hyphen as a means of creating a more distinct separation, so that reads, you know, a little more strongly as an addition than part of the original, or something that kind of bridges the two.
Any other thoughts, commissioners?
Yeah, I agree with the balcony being problematic. It seems like that doesn't really need to be there. It's not functioning as anything, and it's distracting.
Excuse me, this is the homeowner. We were the people who begged for the balcony, actually. So I'm just wondering if I could just say 2 sentences about that, which is right now, we do not have a way to sort of be in the front of our house and enjoy the front. The porch is very odd. There's no covering there at all. And so our idea was the best view. You cannot see our house from the street, but we can see well far out. And the only way we will actually get that view is from that balcony, and that would be right off of our bedroom. And so we love the idea of a balcony, and I would hope that we could come up with materials that would make the commission happy. But the balcony was put there not just for a frivolous reason, but because that's how we would get the best view of, you know, our whole property and beyond. And we don't have that right now.
Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't object to it, Jeff, if it were kind of the language of the hyphen. It looks like it's kind of bridging both, and maybe if that's a wrought iron or metal or something that just kind of reads in that vertical hyphen, I think it would, enable that separation to read better.
Understood and agreed.
Mhm.
How deep is it?
It's approximately 5 feet from the face of the hyphen. And the hyphen is set back about a little over 2 feet from the front face of the house. So, it projects out probably only 3 feet.
So it doesn't sound like it's a sitting balcony, it's a standing balcony kind of.
Yeah.
It's a let's have a cup of coffee and gaze out over the property.
Right.
Balcony.
Survey
Or a
the-
glass of wine after a day like today.
There you go. Uh-huh.
Right. So commissioners, I'm hearing that we'd like some alterations, and if somebody wants to make a motion that they rework the balcony, or is it possible to rework the balcony? Is that something that could be done?
Well, quite frankly, it needs to be detailed. So that is one of the things that I just need to do regardless. And I think having it light and lacy and steel structurally might work a little bit better for me regardless. And I don't know if we could technically have it overlap as it is shown in the plan. So that is probably a little bit misleading to begin with. But I think it could and would work better both technically as well as structurally if we had it actually align with the hyphen itself.
Would that solve some of your problems, Chris Parts, with that? If it was in
Yes,
line?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Again, it's going to get fussy. Do you have to return the handrails now? But again, that's what we do as architects. So
Yeah.
Yes.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah.
So then the motion could be to approve on the condition that the balcony is reworked and brought back as an amendment to the plan, as Caitlin mentioned.
Yeah, and John, I think that I would approve the concept and just ask, Jeff to come back with a refined, version of the hyphen, including the balcony. I think the shape and position of the addition, at least in my opinion, is fine. But I think just revisiting the hyphen, including the balcony, is what I would like to see just in a return visit there.
Sensitive to the fact that we don't have a meeting in August, so we could, Caitlin, right, just deny and wait for revised plans to come back, but we could also approve with contingencies to allow them to keep moving forward.
I think we could approve it with the comment that to relook at the hyphen and the balcony, and maybe have a small subcommittee which could advise staff if staff thinks it's necessary.
Yeah.
Rather than have to come back to the full. And if staff doesn't feel comfortable, then we ask them to come back and present that at the September meeting.
Yeah, we had a subcommittee formed for a project last July, and it was just that a formal letter from the subcommittee was submitted to staff with their decision on the project, so that the applicant didn't have to wait until September.
I think 98% of the design is we're approving. It's it's a detail. It's an important detail, and I think Chris makes a very good point. So I think,
and from the owner's perspective, again, they want to keep the process moving, and I would, my concern had always been to try and get something as far as we could in front of the commission, just so that we can continue developing the drawings at this point in time.
Good. So Ed or Chris, could one of you put that motion in play? And then also, may you all, the two of you, be the select subcommittee And then, okay, so I don't know who wants to take a swing at the motion, Chris or Ed?
Yeah, I'd just move that we approve the design and ask the subcommittee look at or approve the design and materials as presented, and ask that a subcommittee be formed to look at the refinement of the hyphen, including the balcony.
Good. Second to that motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you. Jessica, could we do a voice vote,
Okay,
please?
let's rephrase the motion so that we all know what we're voting on.
Okay, so the motion before us is that we are approving the addition with materials as proposed, with proviso that they revisit the hyphen with particular emphasis on the balcony and bring that back to a select subcommittee made up of Chris and Ed for final approval.
Great. Are we ready for our vote? We have Chris Weston, please.
No.
Okay. Wendy, please.
Yes.
Ray, please.
Yes.
Phoebe,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Vince,
Yes.
Chris Parts,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
and John, please.
Yes, and thank you to the owner and to you, Jeff, for taking your time and going through those questions with us. We appreciate it, as always.
Thank you all very much, and good seeing you all again.
You too, Jeff.
Take care.
Just love to do this again in person one of these days.
Yeah,
We could hope.
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, and then our friends at Sudbrook Assisted Living Property are number 8 for
Yes.
some more work they're doing.
Yep. 600 Sudbrook has returned with a request for a temporary fence installation around the carriage house and greenhouse, and also carriage house temporary mothballing. So the applicant is proposing to install temporary construction type fencing around the perimeter of the carriage house and greenhouse and temporarily secure the carriage house until its further rehabilitation. And just a reminder to the commission, rehabilitation plans for the carriage house and greenhouse were approved by the LPC in July of 2020. Additionally, staff approved plans in an emergency repair review after a tree fell in the north corner of the carriage house in November of 2020. Staff also approved building permits for the rehab of the carriage house and greenhouse, which were issued in December of 2022. So the first work item for the temporary fencing is to install 6-foot high chain link construction type fencing around the perimeter of the carriage house and greenhouse in 8-foot sections. It will have a pole-like base and sit on top of the ground. The fencing is for security and safety and was recommended by Baltimore County's Department of Environmental Protection and Sustainability. The location of the fencing on the site plan is not very clear. The yellow dotted line appears to go under the second story of the carriage house. Staff asked that the commission clarify the location. Work item number 2 for the carriage house temporary mothballing is to secure the northeast corner of the carriage house where the tree damage is located by securing the structure and boarding up the area. In addition, the applicant proposed to board up the windows on the entire structure. This temporary mothballing will help secure the building and protect it more from the elements until the future rehabilitation work can begin. Staff has no issues with the temporary mothballing measures. However, the applicant failed to mention some details, including if the windows will be labeled, removed, and stored prior to the windows being secured with plywood, how the windows will be attached to the structure. To address the damaged corner, will plywood be on both sides of the roof? And will there be venting on the second story to allow for airflow? As a side note, staff recommends that the vegetation around the carriage house and greenhouse be removed or cut back from the exterior. Although not part of the LPC's purview, vegetation can be very destructive to building exteriors. Overall, staff feels the work is appropriate given the temporary nature of it as described in the application. However, staff would like the commission to inquire and establish a timeline for the carriage house and greenhouse rehabilitation. It has been 2.5 years since plans were approved and 7 months since the permit was approved. The continued delay may be perceived as demolition by neglect and it's a code violation. So staff's recommendation is to vote to issue a certificate of appropriateness for work item 1 as proposed, and for work item 2 with the condition that the boarding up of the windows is properly vented as per preservation brief number 31, mothballing historic buildings, citing Baltimore County Historic Design Guidelines, facade materials, pages 1 through 12, fences and landscapes, pages 1 through 5, County Code section 32-7-405, and the National Park Service Preservation Brief number 31, mothballing of historic buildings.
Is the owner with us today?
Yes, we have Ms. Johnson and the contractor.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Jessica.
Okay. Bill and Ms. Johnson, you are unmuted.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
And Bill, it's also on the contractor.
Okay. Is there anything either of you would like to say in advance of the commissioners reviewing your request?
I'm gonna let Bill take lead on this.
Sure. Yeah, so basically, I think the reason you were questioning why we took so long, we don't have an occupancy permit yet. That's what the health department actually came out and cited of not having it encased properly. So that's our reasoning for doing the fencing and for boarding the windows. I kind of went above and beyond and did the windows. I don't have to. I mean, it's up to your recommendation, what you guys require us to do. But I was just trying to make everybody happy if we can get our occupancy permit going. And then we plan to probably work on this about a year into it once we have occupancy and, start making some money. And
Thank you. Thank you for that background. Any questions, commissioners?
I have a question. I don't understand exactly what you're doing. There's a blue line that says temporary fencing and then a yellow line that says fencing that appears to go under the overhang. So I don't understand how that works. I also, looking at the photographs, the thing that concerns me is the damage from the tree. They need to put a new roof over that. They need to enclose it so that water can't penetrate into the lower part of that. Otherwise, it's going to really start deteriorating and rotting, and you've got to tighten up the exterior with roofing, temporary, either final roofing or temporary roofing. Do the windows, do the venting, and the damage to the exterior wall and roof that was caused by the tree needs to be at least temporarily repaired. So you can't just, this building cannot be left like that and expect it to last if you're not going to immediately start construction, which it appears that you're not. So I would like to see some detail. I mean, it is temporary, but still, there's so little detail and so little information on how it's being done. I think you have to come back to us with a real plan that's going to show how you plan on stabilizing this for the period of time before you start construction, unless you tell me you're going to start construction immediately.
Right.
Oh, okay. So for now, can we do the fencing, and I will come back with a plan for. We'll probably do a vinyl roof of some sort, I would assume, but I'm guessing you're going to want another application put in for that. I have no problem with that.
Okay. Can you tell us? I don't understand. Why are there two colors of fencing shown?
So I did that because I didn't understand the application process. I thought you were going to want two different ones put in. So I tried to explain, one was for the carriage house, one was for the greenhouse, to try to make it easy.
Well, but why is one fence going underneath the overhang?
To the best of my knowledge, that was all that we had to encase was the actual greenhouse, not the overhang. I can encase the overhang as well.
But you show a yellow fencing that goes from the greenhouse roof around out towards, what's the name of that road? Carriesbrook Road, comes along the parking lot and then shoots underneath the thing. And if I look at the overhang, I think you need to keep people out of that under the overhang. This looks like it's a building that's not in great shape, and someone's going to get in there and get hurt.
I'll second that, Ed. I was in this building 2.5 years ago, and it was a stiff breeze away from being on the ground then, and 2.5 years have passed and it's been hit by a tree. So I think the whole thing should really be fenced for public safety.
Yep, I agree. You've got to go outside the overhang. You can't just do a part of it because somebody's going to get killed in there.
That's fine. We can go around the overhang. That's not a problem.
Okay.
And I know you're saying this is all temporary. Is there any kind of a timeline on when you expect to start, rehabbing these buildings? Because they're not going to stay up. They're going to fall down.
Sure. The other issue we were having was finding a contractor that was, decent in historic. And I know Yatunde can second this as well. I think she had a contractor that left. We had in hopes to do this. And I guess I would look to you guys if you have recommendations because you do a lot of the historic properties. That's kind of where we're at with it. It's not something I wanted to mess with. Being historic, and it's a decent amount where the tree did fall. That is the main area. As far as the overhang, it's not nearly as bad. So it's very structural. It needs to be repaired, so it's a little over my whim that I wanted to mess with. So that's kind of where we're at, if that answers your question.
Not.
And my concern is if we don't approve something for enclosing, now we're 2 months out basically before you're approving something. So my thinking,
Yeah, there are two parts to it. There's that, but there's also if we approve the fencing without some sort of plan on the building, we lose. Then the occupancy permit comes in and they can start doing it, but we no longer have that kind of an enforcement incentive that if they want the occupancy permit, that they need to do more than just put a fence around it.
Right, and we have no problem doing it. I mean, the whole problem is the money. I mean, we need to open to, get things going. Within a year, to be dealt with. That's mainly what we're trying to do. She hoped to be open a lot sooner, and that's why I think before I came on board, she had a previous application to fix it. She thought she was going to do it. I think within 6 months. And that Yatunde can talk about that side, but that's where we're at now to try to get open, make money, and then look into this because I think she wants to use it for once we get it, top notch and back in shape.
Chris, I agree with you, but I just don't know what they're going to do. I don't know that.
Right.
I'm concerned as you are.
Yeah.
But I think they need to, if you look at the west side, that view that shows the detail where the roof was hit, that needs to be a temporary wall put on it and a temporary roof put on.
Yeah.
So it should be done. You're right. It should be done immediately. I mean,
if I can come in. Good evening, everyone. So we don't have a problem fixing the carriage house. We want to fix the carriage house. We want to fix the greenhouse. But if you look at the building, it's not a building that you want to rush. I mean, I know people are making suggestions. We've been doing this for the past, 4 years? So it's not that we met the place in a great condition. That carriage house, it's the heart of Sudbrook. We want to fix it right. And anything that it's worth fixing right, we need time. I know everybody's saying fix it now. That building has to be done delicately, fixed properly, because we're going to put patients in that building.
Well,
We're
I
going
think,
to do activity
but
in the,
let me
and they're
stop
gonna
you right there. It's been 4 years and nothing has been done on this. We have plans for it. 4
in the
years,
last 4
nothing
years,
done. This is
we
demolition
have
by
not
neglect.
stopped. Excuse me, sir. We have not stopped. I have not stopped. There's no one in Sudbrook area that can tell you I have stopped. So I have to go through the historic. I have to go through Baltimore County. I have to get funds to do all these big projects. This project are not small projects. So let's go back to the main reason. I don't have a problem fixing the carriage house, but I owe the community to fix the carriage house right. And the way it is right now, we cannot rush. We need someone that is really good, that can take time and do it right.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to do. And if everyone can give me a chance, it will be done. I just can't do everything at one time. So the fencing that we're going to do, it's a temporary fencing for about 12 months so that we can get money to fix this carriage house. The estimate that I got last on the carriage house is $250,000. That's the estimate. So we're gonna fix the carriage house. We're going to fix the greenhouse, but I want to do it right. If everyone has seen the front, I've taken time to do it right. I don't cut costs, and I don't do shortcuts. I do it right to the best of my knowledge. And for people to, I know that place, it's historic, and everybody's been looking at it. Please give me a chance. I will get it done. But if I'm not given a chance, and every time it looks like I'm beaten all the time, I will get it done. I've done everything that I've said I would do. So the temporary fence is just to say it's coming. We will do it. But I just want a temporary fence so that we can protect that area for now. And the temporary fence will not be more than 12 months. I will get it done. $250,000. It's what I have to do the carriage house and to do the greenhouse. And I promise it will be done. But it will not be done in a rush or in a haste. I need someone that is really good.
There are
It will
two
be done.
issues. Can I say something? There are two issues here. One is I appreciate you wanting to do this right. My concern is the building needs structural stabilization. Without that, it is not going to last 12 months. You won't be there in 12 months. You'll be back here telling me, oh, the building fell down or part of it fell down. I'm sorry, it's too hard to fix up. You need to stabilize this. You've got to do that. You don't have to do the whole retrofit, but you do have to stabilize the walls, the roofs, close it up, ventilate it. If you're going to wait 12 months, if you're so next month you're doing it, okay, but you're not doing it in 1 month. You're doing it in maybe possibly 12 months. I mean, when you first came in, you were proceeding forward. You haven't stopped, but yet you haven't started on this at all. So so you need to stabilize immediately. I mean, I'm saying in the next couple of weeks, you need to get this thing stabilized.
So that carriage house has been there for years, apart from the tree that fell over it. So it's been 3 years, it's still standing. It has good joints and it has good bones. That's why we are saying that we can rehabilitate the place. So it's still standing. I'm not gonna come to you in 6 months that it falls over. I don't have control over that. A building that is put up today can fall tomorrow.
Look at the
But
west elevation. That is not in good. You've got to stabilize that. I
So,
don't know what else I can say, John. I mean, that's,
yeah, so
I mean, that's all I can say.
here's where we are on it then. We have an opportunity to say, no, we don't approve, your permit is denied, pending a plan for stabilizing the building at the same time as the fencing goes up, or perhaps a motion approving the fencing so that she can get patients in the main building and create an income stream. And then asking that she return to us with a more final plan within 90 days. I don't know if that's enforceable to us, though. Is it, Caitlin, that we can insist on another plan within 90 days?
Since there isn't an open code violation on this structure, that we can't say give a specific timeline like that. It was my suggestion on the timeline was more of just an idea of what was going to happen, since we've already approved plans and the permit was approved, just for knowledge like that. But since we don't have a code violation, there's nothing we can't give a formal timeline within 90 days.
Got it.
Can we today say that we're reporting this on the public record and we would like to have inspections out to
Someone
review?
has to put it through the online course, the online submission.
That's all we need to do is just go online, and where do we do
It's the constituents.
As a citizen, you can do that.
As a citizen, yeah.
Anybody in Baltimore County can make that report. Have you had, Ms. Johnson, have you had conversations with the community association about this building recently?
we had a talk around it, and what I told you tonight is what we said. It's gonna be fixed because there's no, we can't bring it down. It cannot be demolished. It has to be fixed. It's not a new building. It's a very old carriage house building. So we are trying to get the person that gave me the estimate to get it done backed out. So we are going to look for someone else. If we remember 2 years ago, I got someone, I paid them to do it. They took my money and they ran away. I paid them $50,000. They were working on it. They didn't finish. They ran away. So, like I said, my job is to find someone to get it done. I will actively get it done. All we are doing tonight, last month we were on this forum to get the compound secure. I'm just asking to get the compound secure. While the compound is secure, if anyone in the neighborhood or on this forum, if you know a very good contractor that can take it on, I take advice. I will tell them to come in and do it. So I don't know a lot of people, so I'm asking. So like I said, I have a contractor who just backed out and said they don't think it's safe. So we're looking for someone else to do it. If anybody have a suggestion, we'll do it. But to keep it safe from anything, and that's why we want to do this side, just cover this side so that it doesn't continue to deteriorate. It would be very difficult to do a partial roof, because I tried that. No one would do a partial roof. It's either the whole roof or no roof. So nobody can do that little side for me, because I will have done that. Nobody wants to do it. Nobody will do a partial siding. I will have done it. So it's either a full siding, a full window, a full roof. No one will do a partial job, because then it puts more wear and tear on the building. So the temporary fence is to keep because the neighbors goes in there a lot. The neighbors sit under there. I don't want that. So we want to put a fence to keep it safe and to put caution so that people doesn't go there while we come up with plan to do this effectively. So it, like I said, it's gonna be done.
So
It's just
Commissioners,
that the baby steps. I have to take time.
thank,
Finish the front and then move to the back.
thank you, Ms. Johnson. Thank you. So
Thank
Commissioners, our choices for motions, I think, is pretty clear. If you feel like that we need plans from an architect to take care of this building before she proceeds with the fence, then that's the motion that needs to be in place, that she needs to come back with detailed plans. Or we can approve the fence and allow her to get residents in her building and an income stream and let her protect the building as best she can, which is what she's doing, what she's offering to us.
I think we need the fence because it's going to fall down, and I think we need to protect people. So I think we just need to accept the fact that it's not going to be there in 6 months, but that's just what it is. So I move we approve the plan for a fence around the entire perimeter of the building. And she should come back with a plan for stabilization and mothballing.
I will do that. I'll be glad to do that.
I would second.
When though? I think there has to be a time
90 days.
constraint.
When is
I think
Wendy, we can't enforce a timeline on that.
Right.
Can we mute her for a moment, please?
For the plan, we can't?
No, we can't enforce a timeline on when she comes back with a plan for that.
We can suggest, but in a non-enforceable way.
Exactly what Ed did in his
Sure.
motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
problem putting it in for the next meeting? But what is it for September? I mean, I can start working on it now, but I know you're gonna.
Yeah. Well, with the goal for the September.
Right.
If the commission approves the fencing, you can start with that right away. And then the sooner you come back to us with a plan for the full renovation, the happier we'll be.
Anyone knows how to do report this have the building inspectors check this building out, and I think she needs a citation, would get things moving. Otherwise, I don't think we'll see anything move.
Well, yes, that's a separate conversation. So what we have before us right now is a motion to allow the fence with encouragement that she come back with a full plan on the renovation of the building. And we have a second for that.
And the condition on the fence was that it was around the entire perimeter.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Thank you, Phoebe. So may we have a roll call vote on that, Jessica?
And who was our second for the motion?
Chris Parks.
Okay, thank you. Could we have Chris Wesson, please?
Voting yes to fence the entire building.
Great. Wendy, please.
Yes to fencing the entire perimeter.
Ray,
Yes.
Phoebe,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Vince,
Yes.
Chris Parts,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
and John, please.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson, and thank you, Bill, and we look forward to hearing from you again soon.
Thank you so much. I think when sometimes in September, I will get in touch with Kathleen, and then we'll submit another application.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Next up is the Hicks property up on the North Central Trail. And Jessica, are you going to go through that one?
Yeah. Yep.
Thank you.
This is our last item on the agenda, Hicks property, the Parkton Hotel. at 18848 York Road in Parkton, County Council District number 3. This is final landmark number 79, the Parkton Hotel. And the applicant has proposed repairs to the rear and side porches, repairs to the siding, and this is a code enforcement correction case. The case came to us in April 2023 after a correction notice was issued for the property by code enforcement. The complaint came in by the fire department / paramedics that responded to a call at the property and noticed the unsafe condition of the porches. The property is owned by Ms. Dottie Hicks, who has been living there since the 1970s and was the owner at the time the property was listed on the final landmarks list. Her neighbors and others in her community have been assisting her with the application process and making sure that the repairs get completed so that Ms. Hicks can stay living in the property. To correct the safety concerns, the applicant has proposed the following work items. Work item number 1, the back porch roof replacement and repairs. The existing rear one-story porch has a deteriorated corrugated metal roof and rotting structure due to the leaky roof. The applicant proposed to replace the existing metal roof in kind and replace any decking or roof structure as needed due to deterioration. A 5x8 beam is deteriorated above the center post and will be replaced in kind with a new Douglas fir 5x8 rough cut beam. Post brackets will be removed in order to replace the beam and then will be returned after the repairs have been made. Staff has no issues with the repairs, but asks the commission to make sure that the roofing is properly flush. Work item number 2 for the side porch roof replacement. The one-story side porch's corrugated metal roof is rusting. The application proposes to replace the roof in kind and replace any decking or roof structure if needed because of deteriorations. Staff has no issues with the repair, but again, asks the commission to make sure that the roofing is properly flushed. For the siding repairs, work item number 3. There is existing wood drop siding or German siding with 2 different profile widths. It has visible damage in various locations on the back side of the house, which is the frame addition. The application proposes to replace the damaged pieces of siding in kind with cypress siding that matches the same profile and then will be painted to match the rest of the structure. Finally, work item 4 for the rear soffit and fascia repairs. Existing cypress soffit and fascia are deteriorated. The applicant is proposing to remove the existing deteriorated soffit and fascia boards on the right and back side of the porch and flat roof and replace in kind with cypress. All moldings will match the existing and will be painted white to match the rest of the house. Staff's recommendation is to vote to issue a certificate of appropriateness as proposed, citing Baltimore County Historic Design Guidelines, chapters porches and steps, facade arrows, County Code Section 327-403.
Thank you, Jessica. This is for those of you who are on the North Central Trail. It's right up there by the Parkton Stone Bridge, a well-known stopping point for bicyclers and hikers for a moment of congeniality right along there. So having gone through that, commissioners, any questions or thoughts?
I think it's great that they're repairing. Oh, hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that they're repairing and they're taking care of this. I think it's great.
I'll vote to issue a certificate of appropriateness as proposed.
Thank you. Do we have a second for that?
Second.
Second from Chris Parts. Any other comments, commissioners? Hearing none, can we do a vote, Jessica?
Have Chris Weston, please.
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Phoebe,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Vince,
Yes.
Chris Parts,
Yes.
Jamie. You unmuted, Jamie?
Yes.
Great, thank you. And John, please.
Yes, yes,
Great,
yes,
thank you.
yes. And then we have other business. We have a info presentation on the Catonsville High School historic property. Caitlin, you want to take us through that, or?
Yes.
This is an informational.
Right.
Yes. So we're done with our
Informational.
regular business. we're not taking any action on this. It's going to be similar to the Towson High School informational session that y'all did. So this is final landmark number 80, the Farmlands Tenant House. It's on the property of Catonsville High School. So this is going to be a special presentation with the Baltimore County Public Schools project team, which is through mostly architects. I'm going to promote a couple of them and pass the share capabilities to them so they can present to you. So I have Michael Blake with Mosley Architects and Nancy Liebrecht who will be presenting. I'm going to be promoting them, and then we have several members of Baltimore County Public Schools that are online that'll be able to answer any questions that the commissioners have. So let me just promote Michael and Nancy. Give me a second. All right, Nancy and Michael, you both are now panelists. So if you have cameras and you would like to turn them on, you're welcome to do that. Nancy, I am going to pass my host. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to pass my host role to you.
Sounds good. While you're doing that and Nancy's getting things organized, I just want to introduce the Baltimore County Public Schools team. We have Meryl Plate, who's Director of Facilities, Construction and Improvement. Mike Archibald, who's the Manager of Planning with Facilities, Construction and Improvement. Leslie Lazari, who is the Manager of Design for Facilities, Construction and Improvement. And Desiree Loud, who's a Senior Project Architect and managing this project with us. Again, thank you for the opportunity to discuss the Farmlands Tenant House with you tonight. As you may know, the Baltimore County Public Schools allocates resources towards educational uses, and that's a priority with them. Considering the size, configuration, and location of the Farmlands Tenant House, the building cannot serve as an educational purpose, and due to its poor condition, poses ongoing safety risks. Acknowledging these factors, along with financial constraints of restoration, we've developed an approach that aims to effectively acknowledge and share the history of the building and grounds in an interesting and meaningful way. So with that in mind, I'm going to turn it over to Nancy. She's going to present our approach, and of course, we welcome your feedback and comments afterwards. So thanks.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to extend your meeting. I'm sure you've all had a long day. Start at the beginning. So we're here to talk about the Farmlands Tenant House, also known as the Leaphole House or the Laphole House. We struggled for ages trying to figure out which was correct, and then through some ancestry research determined that the name Leaphole gradually evolved to become Laphole. So it's called Leaphole through the MHT documents, but by the time they died, they were referred to as the Lapholes. So on screen, you'll see the Farmlands Tenant House as it was when it was in a good condition. It's a simple stone structure. There are two parts to it. Am I loud enough?
When was this photograph taken?
I'm not sure the date of the photograph, but my next slide is a timeline, so I can tell you when it was constructed.
I think it's from the 80s. The photograph.
So it's at 614 Hilltop Road on the grounds of the Catonsville High School. And here you can see the location. It's hidden amongst the trees. It's sort of behind the stands that wrap around the football field. Sort of going through a timeline of the building. It was built in 1784 for the family. In 1866, Gustav Lerman died. He and his descendants wrote into their will and actually the deed for the property that as long as a male descendant of their gardener survived, they could occupy the house. In 1948, the Lerman estate was acquired by Baltimore County Schools to serve as the site of the Catonsville High School. In 1952, the Lerman House and most of the outbuildings were demolished. That's with the exception of a small carriage house and this cottage. In 1983, Lloyd LaPole died, and in 1987, the house was placed on the preliminary Baltimore County landmarks list. In 1991, it was placed on the landmarks list, and in 2002, Pansy LaPole died. The house began to decline, and in 2003, stabilization drawings were completed, and the building was stabilized and mothballed. 2004 was the last update to the BA 2427 MHT document. 2009, there was a grant from the Catonsville Heritage Foundation to investigate the house and do some as-builts. In 2022, there was some vandalism and a small fire, and that led to a structural investigation and a fence being installed around the house. And then that subsequently led again further to an RFP being issued by Baltimore County Public Schools to investigate what could be done next. Here you'll see the BA 2427, the MHT inventory of historic places. We just wanted to point out a couple of things. It's noted as an education, which is applicable for the entire farmlands estate, but this particular inventory is only for the house itself. So it really should be listed as vacant. And then in the description, it notes it as fair, but we feel at this point that it should be noted as deteriorated. Here you'll find some photos of how the house is since sort of 2022, 2023 timeframe. You can see the 2-story and 1-story wings. There's a fair amount of deterioration. There's vines growing up and over. The bracing that was done in 2003 is actually holding up pretty well. So the rear stone wall has not continued to fall, but there's definitely been further deterioration of the wood structure, and there's holes in the roof. So our first step was to engage a structural engineer to take a look at the property. So we engaged Columbia Engineering, and they established that the building is deteriorated to such a state that to bring it back to a mothball condition would require so much reconstruction that very little historic material would remain, with the exception of the stone and the brick, and even that would require significant repair. You can see some of the photos. I don't know if you see cursors, but you can see looking up at the roof of the 1-story bit. This is kind of climbing up a ladder and looking down. We couldn't go inside. It simply wasn't safe enough, but we were able to peer in and take photos of the interior. And so you can see it's in a relatively rough condition at this point. I've attached to I'm not going to go through this whole thing, as obviously we don't want to take 30 minutes, but of course they've noted that the floor framing is deteriorated. The damage to the low roof and the amount of vegetation are causing the structure to collapse. The high roof framing is assumed to be damaged from water and vegetation. In combination with the age of the structure and the duration of the leaks, it is assumed the roof, joists, and decking is unsafe in their current condition. And the vegetation covering the exterior walls is causing the mortar between the stones to crumble, which is all leading to the building becoming unstable. And then they note that the issues all above are all safety concerns. You shouldn't go inside it, and you shouldn't remove the fence that surrounds it. So after a lot of consideration of the structural report and the potential cost to try to bring it back to a mothball condition, Baltimore County Schools feels that the most respectful approach would be to fully document the house do a full set of working drawings so that there is a history to the house. Salvage and store all the historic materials that are in a reasonable condition, and restore woodland condition with a plaque describing the history of the location. We thought that parts of the foundation could be left in place if seeing the footprint of the building is thought to sort of bring that history out. So right now it's concealed back in the woods. Basically, I doubt anybody that's at the high school knows the project is there. So we thought that we could use this as sort of a learning opportunity to actually teach people about the history of the site, let them know that this was once the farmlands estate, let them know that, hey, here sits the foundation of the cottage of Lloyd LaPole, the gardener to the Lerman family. And we thought it would be potentially an opportunity to bring that history out. So again, document the building through photographs and measured drawings, dismantle existing building to foundations, salvage stone for possible reuse elsewhere on campus, and install a plaque. This is just a first attempt at what the plaque could be, but just something to show that original old estate. You could see the sort of part of it that's now the Catonsville High School, the tiny little Lerman estate, right? Lerman house, Lloyd LaPole house, sorry. And then kind of a little bit of a narrative about it. And then that would point you to a website or a QR code that would go into a more detailed interpretive display that would be either available for, it would be both available at the high school in the lobby, in addition to being available online. So we thought it would be a good opportunity to teach people about the history of this particular estate. So here's sort of, we've built the little house in Revit now. So we've started that documentation process. You can see the 2-story bit with some high dormers, and then a low monoslope addition at the rear. Here is an example of an interpretive display that's been installed at the Catonsville Elementary School. And here's just the very beginning of some ideas for what the interpretive display could be. Perhaps one panel describing the cottage, another panel describing the carriage house, something that includes some of the working drawings so people could understand the floor plans of the cottage, and also the importance that the gardens played at this estate. So I think that's it. We would love to hear what everyone's thoughts are.
Thank you so much for that detailed presentation. We appreciate it. Commissioners, any thoughts or questions you'd like to direct to them?
I'm just going to ask an obvious question. Why was it allowed to deteriorate when it was landmarked?
As a county property.
Yeah, do we have any answer for that, Mr. Pike or Ms. Sleeper?
Yeah, I think we'd like to defer to our Baltimore County colleagues. Desiree, are you able to?
Unfortunately, a lot of the funding that we receive is for educational purposes, and money is always tight when it comes to funding the projects that we need to fund. And unfortunately, we're not receiving funds to keep this mothballed. The mothballing was supposed to be every 10 years, and there was some public outreach, I believe, for fundraising, and nothing came of fruition. So unfortunately, this is why we are in the position that we're in now.
Thank you. Commissioners, any other questions or thoughts?
So this is a case where the county is responsible for demolition by neglect.
Neglect.
Over the past 20 years. by not providing the funding either from the county council and BCPS not having the funding to maintain this.
Seeing a lot of this tonight. It's very disheartening.
And particularly for a county landmark, to have that neglect by the county does not set a very good example for, private owners of historic properties. So shame on the county.
Yes.
Although, can I throw in, I mean, to my mind, this also shows sort of why we should be very reluctant to put limits on county-owned property. Frankly, we've got lots of educational requirements throughout the county. If money had been spent, I don't know if that would have been a good use of educational dollars.
Yeah, these are hard properties to that thought, Scott, where it's hard to repurpose them, hard to come up with a constructive reuse. Yeah, so it's a difficult question, but certainly we wish the county had come to us earlier when we might have had other options and other ways to deal with it. I can easily agree with that.
And it does have historic significance, so it is not that it is unworthy of being landmarked.
Right.
Hi, Michael and Nancy. Haven't seen you guys in a while. For the rest of the commissioners, I used to work with them. They're great people.
Right.
My question was, is it possible to leave the stone walls as more of a ruin, or are they just so deteriorated that's not even an option? Because I think it could be better interpreted with the walls there. And if you took the roof off, you're alleviating that outward force of the roof caving in.
Originally, that's what we were thinking, but because over the years, students have found their way back there, there's definitely a concern of additional vandalism or students getting hurt if anything, does not stand up structurally.
So would it be possible to do, and I don't know if this is a workable thing, to do a knee-high wall or something a little bit higher, preserve some of the original stone?
I believe there was some discussion of how high we actually could go.
It has the potential to be an outdoor classroom.
Yeah.
Well, because of the proximity, we were thinking that it's a bit far from the main building for it to actually be usable as an outdoor classroom. And those were things that we did discuss. But the area is pretty wooded. It's pretty far from the actual main high school. And so we figured that it would be kind of difficult to control the, let's say, movements of students, being that the property is so far from the main high school.
I mean, it looked like the athletic fields were just as far, though.
Yeah.
And you control that.
Right, but the athletic events are different than a normal school day, and for this to be used for an outdoor classroom, it's not close enough to the existing school, and there are accessibility issues that go along with it.
How far is
I'm
it?
just lobbying for the more that we leave there, the more that there is to interpret.
I agree.
Well, I'm a little confused. If it's too far to use as a learning classroom, where are you planning to do this interpretation?
Well, the thought was that we would put the plaque here for anybody that was wandering or might be at the adjacent Lerman Theater, that they would see the plaque and know that they could go up to the high school lobby to see the more elaborate display. But the elaborate display will be in the lobby of the high school.
Can you go back to the layout of the campus?
Yeah. The high school's here. Our little house is here and the fields are here. There's a parking lot up here, but it's a very circuitous route to get down. But there's also one, I think we're covering it up, but one up here.
What is the distance from the high school to the cottage?
Well, if we measured, I'm not good at football. How long's a football field?
300
100 yards, yeah. Yeah, so it looks like it's 125 yards maybe, or 100,
And
something.
you have grade changes, you have the brush.
Yeah.
Well, if you were going to use it as a classroom, you'd have to clear some of the brush and all, you know.
Yeah.
The brush is what got us into this. Not maintaining, the vegetation is what got us to this point in part in the first place.
There's also some sort of ordinance about removing trees on the existing site. I can't recall exactly what that, I think it was written into the will for the granting the property to Baltimore County Public Schools.
The deed had two provisions. One was that Mr. LaPole could continue to occupy the gardener's cottage, and the other was that the landscaping be preserved.
Yeah, but I don't think that included the ivy crawling up the house, though, did it?
You say, I venture to say that the landscaping was not preserved in the, picture that he would have had.
Agreed.
So where is the carriage house in relation?
Carriage house is just north of the upper part of the main high school, so it's, I don't know, Nancy, if your cursor works, but it's just off this curved drive right there. There you go.
It's adjacent to the school.
Oh, okay. Oh, so better
Yeah.
proximity for.
It's a larger building. I think it's more open inside, and it's being used by the
It's
school.
currently used by maintenance, I believe.
Okay.
We thought it might be good to put a plaque on that as well, and that would kind of tie the two, the last remaining original buildings together and link to the larger interpretive display.
And can you say something about the Lurman Woodland Theater? Where that is and
It seems to be right adjacent to the cottage. Has anyone on this call ever been to a show there?
No, I haven't. But I haven't been here long enough, so.
So it seems like if that's used by the school, why couldn't the cottage be?
It's not.
I think it's a Baltimore County Parks and Rec. Is that right, Desiree?
Correct. That's not right. It's currently not used by the school.
Not operated by the school.
Correct.
But it's on school property?
Yes.
It is on the school property.
So would there be an opportunity for the site of the gardener's cottage to be used in conjunction to that if they're in some proximity to each other?
Underneath where the words are. Nobody's let me in.
I think it again speaks to the funding, where the county would be funneling funding from, for either through Baltimore County Public Schools or Parks and Rec. That's really the issue.
Well, the county does have some responsibility for this property, and they're the ones who got us to the state of demolition by neglect.
So what I'm hearing is that some members of the commission would like to see an adaptive reuse and restoration. And I'm hearing from the county side that their accessibility issues, their budget issues, and apparently there seems to be overlapping possibilities of whether it be Rec and Parks or BCPS. And so we're at a point where how much effort and how long would it take, and what could we expect from the reuse of the building if we got to that point. I suspect it would be a substantial cost to do some renovation. So what the alternative we're hearing is let's preserve the history, but in another informative way, and preserve it in the school property, which was part of the estate. So how do we, what do we recommend for this group to come back to us with as a proposal?
I'm not sure at this point, by the looks of the building, that you know, could even restore it at all. But I think what I would like to point out here is we just had a private citizen come, and we're telling her that she cannot allow this historic house to fall down, that she must pay to have it stabilized. And yet the county is allowed to have demolition by neglect. And believe me, this is not the only building that comes under the county's purview that has fallen down. So I think we're being very hypocritical here.
Yeah, I second that.
Sadly, I think we can agree that the county has not always been the best steward, but to Scott's point, there are many folks who would suggest that this is a hard thing for BCPS to sideline dollars for when the county schools are struggling on some big projects.
I mean, it wouldn't have to be county school dollars. Could there be other county dollars for Parks and Rec?
Potentially, yep.
I think we've talked enough about this, don't you?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask another question. If that building is taken down, which apparently it will be, is there any plan to use that site for anything?
At this time, no.
And we do note that.
I'm sorry, except for, noting that it's a former site of a historic landmark.
So would there be also plans to maintain the area and clear it of undergrowth and make it approachable? We understand that trees are an issue, but how about the rest of it? Would they mow a path? Would they have some sort of a chipped path up there, or some other way to make it accessible for people to take a look at?
Looks like there's a road near it.
Yeah, I think that's down a hill. I'm not sure.
I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at a Google Maps blow up on my computer screen, and it looks like there's a road that goes pretty close to it.
Yeah, to that parking lot. Yeah, I see what you're talking about.
And then it looks like there's like a pathway that goes toward it too. It's not that far from the stadium.
So I think the original thought from BCPS was just to essentially plow it under and totally demo it. So they're trying to come to us a little bit on this idea.
So since we're not acting on this at all, there's no action for us to take today.
No
what
action.
are the next steps?
So the next action would for them to make a formal proposal, and so they are coming to us essentially to find out if we're all going to lie down in front of the bulldozers on it, essentially, or whether we're going to allow them to do an adaptive interpretation, in what we hope will be a thoughtful and sensitive way to preserve some of the history.
Yeah. Have there been any conversations with Parks and Recs about this?
I believe there have been some meetings. I have not been involved in those meetings.
Just from personal observation, I can't be confident that Parks and Recs is a better steward of a historic property than DCPS.
No, but they may have, some thoughts on some potential, adaptive reuse of the site.
Yeah.
If they have this woodland theater that's, not far from it.
Right. It's hard on these properties. So to our guests who brought this information to us, as you can see, there are some conflicting thoughts on how this should be approached. But what I am hearing is some sense of resignation that, with sadness, that this building has been allowed to deteriorate past where it can be saved. But what we can save is the thought of it and the history of it. And we would encourage you to revisit that and see if you can expand on that a little bit and make it come to life a little bit. Does that kind of capture it, commissioners, or have I missed the boat? Well,
Very
that is-
diplomatic, John.
Yeah. Consent by silence. Yeah, I don't know.
I think it was a good summary, John, and I share Wendy's and Phoebe's sentiments as well.
Yeah. I think we can all agree on that, and it makes me worry in my area, the Dumbarton House, for example, behind Dumbarton High School, which has come before us on other occasions. There are several of these around the county.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the key takeaway that we want you to have is that, I mean, this is not a bulldoze demolition. This would be a sensitive dismantling of the structure, and with the notion of saving as much of the historic material as possible. How it gets used is another issue, but that's the sensitivity that we're approaching it, and the full documentation is part of that. We want to capture that, and then there will be some thoughtfulness in the interpretive aspect of it. There could be opportunities to engage the school community or the community at large in other ways to create those interpretive panels, all in hopes of bringing to light more of what was there before it became school-owned property. So, I mean, we just want you to know that is the what is behind from the owner standpoint, what they would like to do eventually with the site. Yeah.
May I also add the thought that the Catonsville Library has typically had a very good historic room or historic displays in the library representing the history of the area. And that might be another place where you could create some of the history of this and have it displayed.
Right.
I do appreciate the effort to document it.
Anything else, commissioners?
Just one other little question. It looks like there are two other buildings that are between this site and the Lorman Woodland Theater. What are those, and are they in?
Those, I believe, are some outbuildings as part of the theater complex. I think there's some outdoor toilet rooms.
Okay, like bathrooms.
Yeah.
Hearing no other comments, thank you all for coming. We would appreciate if you rework it a little bit, and we'll look forward to hearing from you again. Anything else?
John, I'm sorry, I just had a quick question.
Sure, Jessica.
I was wondering if the demolition has considered the impact of below surface archaeological resources, because the site is within archaeological site 18BA 99 Lermans. So it is a registered site. And I'm just, wondering if there's been any consideration there.
I think that's a wonderful thought. It would be great if they could invite an archaeological group to come and study it as they take it down. I agree. See what's there. Might find something really cool.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in no way am I trying to influence this decision, but if archaeological investigation was part of the mitigation process of the building's demolition down to just the footprint of the foundation, then that may satisfy concerns about the preservation of the history.
Okay, well, that's something we can discuss.
Yeah, and there are groups that you can reach out to that will do that. That there are state resources, there are university and college resources. So
Yeah, there are summer field work.
yeah,
camps
that's not necessarily a cost item. In other words, particularly for the BCPS. But again, thank you for your presentation. We'll look forward to hearing from you again. When do you think that will be? Is that months away, days away, hours away?
Desiree, I don't want to speak for you all, but I'm guessing as soon as we can get back in front of you, we will.
Yes.
Okay. So then you will note on our screen that we have no meeting in August. So we have no meeting. Everybody enjoy their August. And I think that's everything we have. We just need a motion to adjourn.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good to see you guys.
Motion to adjourn, Chris Weston, is that what I see
Motion
you
to
waving?
adjourn.
A second,
Second.
and by acclamation, all in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
See you in
See you in
September.
September, as the old song says.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thanks so
again.
much. Thank you all.